I am standing in the narrow marble hallway outside the press room when the tension begins humming like an overloaded circuit, the kind that flickers before everything burns out. The air is sharp, metallic, vibrating with whispered accusations and clattering keyboards. Camera crews are rushing in and out as if Washington is collapsing under its own noise. And at the center of the chaos, everyone is chanting the same name like a curse. They are rehearsing for an impeachment fantasy, War Secretary Pete Hegseth. They are insisting he is sinking, that the walls are closing in, that this is the moment they finally corner him. But the problem, of course, is that none of them are actually watching him. They are watching each other panic, and I'm watching them fail. The room goes silent. Everyone freezes. A reporter drops her pen. Another curses at a malfunctioning mic. Screens across the back wall flare with breaking headlines about two explosive scandals tearing through Washington, each one allegedly fatal to Hegseth's career. Yet somehow the only thing dying here is the competence of the people trying to bring him down. Meanwhile, social media is already ripping them apart. This is embarrassing. He already lost and doesn't even know it. Is this leadership? The comments scroll like neon graffiti mocking the meltdown in real time. Meanwhile, across the country, the mood inside Trump's private workspace feels like a different universe entirely. The lights are low, warm, steady, no flicker, no static, just the slow hum of an air system and the constant scratch of a pen against paper as Trump reviews classified briefs with the kind of focus that terrifies his critics. He is listening, watching, waiting, strategic silence. While they scream chaos in the press room, he is seated in the calm at the eye of their storm, unaffected, unmoving. His advisors hover behind him, tense but controlled, knowing that the louder Washington yells, the quieter Trump becomes. He is preparing a response, but not yet. Timing is everything, and his opponents always forget that. Back in the press room, panic is erupting over a new report claiming Hegseth risked exposing sensitive military plans by using Signal to coordinate covert strikes on Houthi fighters in Yemen. A single leaked message becomes a wildfire consuming every conversation. The lights above me buzz harshly as journalists shove microphones toward anyone holding a badge. Staffers rush by whispering about Inspector General findings, congressional anger, and the potential fall of a cabinet secretary. But what I see is not the fall of a man. I see the collapse of a narrative manufactured too quickly, too sloppily, by people who clearly have forgotten how evidence works. A producer screams for someone to confirm the date of the alleged leak. Another flips through printed documents, each page more confusing than the last. A junior aide bumps into a camera stand and nearly knocks it over. Someone shouts, "Who approved this press line?" And no one answers. Their storyline is melting in their hands. Meanwhile, Trump's team receives the same report almost an hour earlier, long before the press smells blood. He reads the first page slowly, then simply sets it aside, his expression unchanged. He knows Washington's pattern: accusation first, facts later. He leans back, steepling his fingers, and his staff watches him the way pilots watch weather radar, studying the formation of a response they know will land exactly where he wants it to. Calm, deliberate, controlled. When an aide informs him that reporters are demanding a statement, Trump merely nods, the corners of his mouth tightening as if amused by how predictably the opposition is overplaying its hand. Back in the press room, the frenzy jumps to the second scandal. A deadly strike in the Caribbean, targeting a suspected drug smuggling vessel. Reporters begin shouting questions about survivors allegedly killed in a second attack. Their voices overlap like a chaotic choir of accusation, each one more dramatic than the last. They demand to know who ordered what, when, and why, but their desperation betrays them. They are constructing conclusions before asking questions, and the seams are showing. Social media erupts again, roasting their confusion. They're guessing on live TV. Somebody rehearsed the wrong script. Clown show. The room goes silent again when someone whispers that Trump is still backing Hegseth completely. That revelation hits them like a cold wind through cracked windows. They don't understand. They expected abandonment, a forced resignation, a public sacrifice to appease the scandal gods. Instead, Trump remains unmoved, and that shakes them more than any allegation, because when Trump doesn't panic, they do. I check my phone. Another viral post appears, a meme of Hegseth with 9 cartoon cat lives floating above him. The caption reads, "Your scandals aren't scandaling, retweets explode." The press tries to push harder, but their confidence is already thinning. The story is slipping from their hands, and they know it. What they don't know is that this is only the beginning, and the unraveling will get worse. Much worse. For now, the cameras keep rolling, the lights keep humming, and I stand in the doorway watching a room full of people who believe they have control, even as it is visibly leaking through their fingers. The moment feels like the first crack of a seismic shift, and everyone senses it, but only Trump understands it. I am stepping deeper into the press room now, moving past the tangled cables and the smell of overheated lights, while the chaos is mutating into something sharper, more frantic. Reporters are circling like vultures, fighting over the same scrap of speculation, contradicting each other in whispers that get louder and more desperate with every passing minute. Their faces are flushed, their eyes twitching with caffeine and uncertainty. The screens at the back continue exploding, with breaking headlines about Hegseth's supposed downfall. Every outlet is pushing a different version of the story, none of them aligned, all of them sloppy. The room goes silent again when a young producer screams that a new leak from the Washington Post and The Intercept is dropping any second. Everyone freezes. Someone accidentally kicks a tripod. Another reporter's voice cracks as she tries to call her editor. The claim now is that the U.S. military knows survivors were still alive after the first strike on the Caribbean vessel. The tension snaps like brittle glass. You can taste the panic. It is sour, metallic, contagious. Meanwhile, across the country, Trump is walking slowly across his private office, hands folded behind his back, watching the news feeds stream across a silent wall of monitors. He is not rattled, not even remotely. He is studying everything with the casual patience of someone who has seen scandal after scandal evaporate under the weight of its own exaggeration. His aides bring him fresh briefings. He waves them off with a calmness that unnerves the people who don't understand him. Trump is analyzing not the allegations, but the behavior of the accusers, the timing, the sloppiness, the desperation. His environment is quiet except for the soft hum of the screens. His team knows that a single sentence from him can reset the entire national narrative, but he is holding, waiting, letting his opponents dig their own tunnels toward collapse. Back in the press room, the frenzy intensifies as legal analysts rush onto live broadcasts, confidently misquoting laws of armed conflict while confusing half the vocabulary. One panelist claims the second attack is unquestionably a war crime. Another disagrees, then immediately contradicts himself. A reporter reading from an old statute stumbles over the words. The arrogance is stunning, the ignorance is louder. The narrative is fracturing on live television in front of millions. Social media turns it into a feeding frenzy. They don't know basic law. Are they just making this up? This is the most confused press corps in US history. Hashtags mocking the coverage begin climbing the trending list. A meme pops up showing a sinking ship labeled The Narrative with reporters bailing water using forks. Meanwhile, Trump's advisors are quietly discussing the Caribbean incident, reviewing timelines and operational authority, but Trump himself is simply absorbing the rhythm of the unfolding drama. He is not rushing to defend Hegseth because he already understands the core truth. The story is collapsing under the weight of missing information. When one aide nervously suggests preparing a defensive statement, Trump raises a hand. Silence falls instantly. He tells them calmly that panic is the enemy of clarity, and clarity is what wins. It is a lesson his opponents never learn. Back in the chaos chamber, the press is now diving into the new accusation that a U.S. admiral ordered the second strike, and that Hegseth either knew or didn't know. The contradictions multiply. Some journalists insist he gave the order himself. Others insist he had no idea. Someone claims there were 2 survivors. Another claims 3. A legal expert shouts on television that killing anyone who is no longer fighting is unlawful. Another insists the rules are murkier at sea. They are all improvising, and the improvisation is showing. A veteran correspondent mutters that everything feels rushed, like they are trying to turn smoke into fire before the wind changes direction. And the wind is already shifting. When White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt finally gives a statement confirming that a second strike indeed occurred, but asserting that Hegseth did not order it, the room erupts. Not in triumph, but in confusion. Reporters yell over each other, demanding clarity they do not actually want, because clarity ends the story. Staffers flip through notes, searching for lines they should have memorized. Producers shout down headsets while anchors misinterpret the statement in real time. It is a spectacle of spiraling incompetence, and the cameras capture every embarrassing second. Meanwhile, in Trump's office, he listens to Leavitt's statement through the speaker, his expression unreadable. He nods once, sharply. He appreciates precision. He appreciates control. He appreciates the fact that while the opposition is broadcasting chaos, his team is maintaining order. The contrast is cinematic. He knows the press wants him to turn on Hegseth, but he also knows the press wants him to panic. He does neither. He remains the silent axis around which the entire scandal is spinning itself into exhaustion. Back in the press room, a final wave of meltdown hits when someone notes that the military handled a similar situation differently just a month later, rescuing survivors instead of striking again. The inconsistencies ignite more confusion. Was there a policy change? Was the admiral overruled? What did Hegseth know? No one actually has answers, but everyone insists they do. A reporter's voice cracks as she goes live for the 12th time. Someone drops a stack of papers, sending documents fluttering across the floor. Another curses into a muted microphone. Social media savors every second. This press room is imploding. They've lost the plot. Somebody call a supervisor, and through it all, I stand in the doorway watching this manufactured storm swallow the people who created it. Their confidence is leaking out through every frantic gesture, every shaky question, every inconsistent headline. They smell victory, but what they are actually smelling is the smoke of their own unraveling, and none of them realize it yet. The air feels heavier now, thick with exhaustion and the sour edge of fear. The fluorescent lights above are flickering like they're about to surrender, casting jittery shadows across a room full of people who look like they haven't slept in days. Everyone is speaking at once, yet no one is actually saying anything grounded in fact. Their confidence is crumbling in slow motion, and I can see it in their eyes, restless, bloodshot, unable to focus. A senior reporter slams his laptop shut, muttering that none of the timelines match. Another waves a printed copy of the Inspector General's report, insisting it proves something it absolutely does not. The room goes silent. Everyone freezes. Then a producer breaks the silence with a trembling voice. We still don't know who ordered the second strike. The admission hits the room like a cold gust. Papers rustle, chairs creak. Someone sighs in defeat. They have built a towering narrative out of sand, and the tide is rising fast. Social media senses blood, circling like digital sharks. Comments scroll across the feeds installed on the wall. They're guessing again. How do these people still have jobs? Plot twist. They never understood the story in the first place. It is merciless, and it is accurate. Meanwhile, across the country, Trump is standing in front of a large digital map displaying maritime operations. His advisors brief him on the Caribbean strike, the survivors, the chain of command. He listens without interruption, his expression steady, absorbing every detail. He is not searching for a way to escape blame. He is searching for clarity, for the truth beneath the noise. While Washington's media circus flings accusations like confetti, Trump is analyzing operational authority, laws of engagement, and the admiral's decision-making. His silence radiates control. His team sees it. They stand at attention, aware that Trump's refusal to react emotionally is signaling exactly the kind of leadership the press insists he lacks. He finally speaks, his voice low. We don't guess. We get the facts. And just like that, the room stabilizes. The advisors straighten. Order replaces uncertainty. It is the opposite of the disaster unfolding on the East Coast. Back in the press room, the frenzy returns when someone announces that a high-ranking Admiral Anvan Hosea is retiring early, just 1 year into the job. The timing sends shockwaves through the journalists who are already collapsing under the weight of unanswered questions. They instantly leap to conclusions, whispering conspiracies to fill the vacuum of information. One reporter insists this confirms guilt. Another theorizes about internal conflict at the Pentagon. A third mutters that the entire chain of command must be compromised. The arrogance is breathtaking, the accuracy non-existent. The room goes silent again when a staffer timidly reads aloud that Hosea had argued fiercely with Hegseth and Chairman Dan Kane right before the early retirement. The revelation detonates across the room. Lights flicker. A camera overheats. A reporter accidentally knocks over a water bottle, sending it rolling across the floor. Chaos expands like a gas, filling every corner. Meanwhile, in Trump's office, a single aide brings him the exact same early retirement report. Trump reads it once, folds it neatly, and sets it aside. No theatrics, no speculation, just discipline. He asks for clarification about the Admiral's authority. The aide answers. Trump nods, unmoved. He knows what Washington does not. Correlation is not causation, and retiring does not mean guilt. His opponents want a scandal, he wants the truth. And this difference is tearing their entire strategy apart. Back in the press room, lawmakers begin entering the conversation, giving interviews full of dramatic language but lacking substance. A former Intelligence Committee chairman, Mike Turner, declares on CBS that the second attack contradicts everything previously reported to Congress. His voice shakes with outrage, but his eyes betray something else: uncertainty. The cameras zoom in, capturing every flicker of discomfort. He is trying to sound authoritative, but ends up sounding theatrical. The meltdown is palpable. Another lawmaker repeats a statement from a different hearing, completely out of context. A legal analyst misquotes the Geneva Conventions while confidently nodding into the wrong camera. Social media erupts with ruthless commentary. Someone needs a fact checker. These people are lost. Can we get a reboot? Meanwhile, Trump remains in the calm center of his world. He continues reviewing classified summaries, confirming that no confidential information was leaked through Signal. He listens to a security officer explain that operations remain safe despite the messaging platform used. Trump thanks him with a simple nod. That nod alone steadies the entire room. His advisors exchange glances, aware that this is the discipline of command, the discipline the press room desperately lacks. Back among the reporters, panic reaches a breaking point. Someone realizes that if Trump fires Hegseth now, it would look like an admission of wrongdoing. Another mutters that keeping him would look like defiance. They are trapped in their own logic maze, unable to understand that Trump is playing a different game entirely, one based on assessment, not performance. A producer collapses into a chair, rubbing her temples. A correspondent stares at his phone, horrified that every meme online paints the media as clueless. My favorite reads, "Reporters shocked to discover facts matter." The temperature in the room rises as networks scramble for new angles. During a live segment, a reporter stumbles through a question, mixing up dates and names. The anchor tries to correct her, only making it worse. The room descends into frantic whispers. They are improvising conclusions faster than they can verify them. Their storyline is rupturing fragment by fragment, and the audience can see the breach. Meanwhile, Trump closes one final folder, exhales quietly, and tells his team, "Truth first. Everything else follows." It is a simple sentence, but in this environment, it is revolutionary. The contrast between the two worlds, Washington's collapse and Trump's methodical clarity, grows more cinematic by the minute. And I stand in the doorway, watching a press machine that once believed it was invincible now scramble to survive the storm of its own making. The atmosphere feels like a boiler about to burst. The lights overhead continue flickering in nervous pulses, and every camera lens reflects the same frantic fear spreading across the press corps. A junior correspondent is pacing with her phone pressed to her ear, whispering that congressional committees are preparing investigations. A senior producer snaps at an intern, demanding transcripts that don't even exist yet. The room goes silent. Everyone freezes when an aide from Capitol Hill emerges, with a folder tucked under his arm, whispering that both the House and Senate Armed Services Committees are now circling the Caribbean strike like hawks. The mention of two committees sends a shockwave through the press room. Papers rustle. A nervous laugh slips from someone's throat. The panic is suffocating. As the news spreads, reporters begin spinning theories at breakneck speed. Was Hegseth lying? Was the Admiral rogue? Was there a hidden directive? They speak with the confidence of prophets, but the accuracy of broken clocks. Social media immediately tears into them. They're panicking again. This is like watching a bad improv troupe. They can't even get the timeline straight. The digital commentary scrolls like a ruthless chorus, mocking the confusion in real time. Meanwhile, across the country, Trump steps into a dimly lit situation room with screens arranged like a panoramic command deck. He studies live satellite images and operational diagrams with a calm, analytical precision. No theatrics, no raised voice. Just leadership functioning the way it is supposed to. A national security advisor briefs him on the congressional committee's intentions. Trump listens, arms folded, eyes narrowed with intent rather than fear. He understands exactly what committees do. He knows that inquiries do not equate to guilt, and he certainly knows that Washington loves investigations more than conclusions. His silence is strategic, his posture grounded. The team around him straightens, instinctively mirroring his composure. He walks closer to the screens, tapping one with a knuckle. "We deal in facts," he murmurs. It isn't loud, but in the quiet of the room, it lands like a command. Back in the press wing, everything is deteriorating quickly. One reporter insists that the president must have known about the second strike. Another claims he absolutely did not. A legal expert shouts through an earpiece, demanding to know why no one is discussing the doctrine of proportionality. Someone else counters that the real issue is detainee treatment. The contradictions are piling up like wreckage on a highway. A young producer who has been awake for nearly 36 hours blurts out that maybe the survivors weren't even survivors. The anchor frowns, confused. The entire commentary panel collapses into verbal static. Watching them is like watching a building fall in slow motion, foundation cracking, beams twisting, debris scattering. The arrogance they began with has now transformed into bewilderment, and the bewilderment is quickly mutating into fear. This is embarrassing. Social media repeats. They don't even know what they're reporting anymore. Someone unplugged the press room and plug it back in.
Meanwhile, in Trump's workspace, staffers are quietly reviewing the Inspector General's findings again, confirming for the third time that no classified material was leaked by Hegseth.
Trump listens, nods, and asks for the specific language in the report. The advisor reads it aloud. Trump absorbs every word, then places a hand flat on the table. Good. Precision matters. His team exhales, visibly relieved. Precision is the one thing Washington's critics consistently forget. Trump stands, walks to a window overlooking the city, and watches the evening lights flicker across the skyline. His world is calm, aligned, measured. The contrast with the collapsing press narrative is cinematic, almost surreal. Back in the chaos, reporters seize on a new angle. The difference between the October strike, where survivors were rescued, and the earlier strike, now under scrutiny. They debate wildly whether a policy shift occurred. Someone claims the rescue proves lawmakers were misled. Another insists it proves nothing. The noise is overwhelming. A journalist accidentally trips over a cable, almost toppling a studio light. A camera operator swears under his breath. The room is cracking under pressure, and then the panic intensifies when a leaked memo surfaces showing fierce disagreements between Admiral Hosey and Defense Secretary Hegseth. The reporters latch onto the memo, like starving wolves. They interpret every line out of context, twisting routine debate into existential crisis. One anchor breathlessly reports that Hosey's retirement must be connected, even though they have no evidence. The meltdown becomes self-sustaining. Meanwhile, Trump receives the same memo. He reads it quietly, unbothered. Policy disagreements at senior levels do not frighten him. They are the engine of decision-making. Instead of panicking, he simply asks, "Does this change anything about the operational facts?" His staff answers no. He nods, satisfied. His strategic patience is the one variable the press never accounts for. They confuse silence with uncertainty, but Trump uses silence as a weapon. He waits, he watches, he lets opponents reveal their weaknesses without lifting a finger. Back in the press room, the unraveling reaches a new low when reporters begin openly contradicting their earlier claims. An anchor corrects a statement she made 5 minutes earlier. A legal commentator admits he misunderstood the Inspector General's findings. The narrative is collapsing in real time, and the cameras are rolling. Social media seizes the opportunity with ruthless glee. They are arguing with themselves. This is what happens when facts are optional. Press corps discovers consequences. The final moment comes when someone realizes that if the administration admits confusion to Congress, it could imply mistakes were made. Reporters gasp, dramatizing the issue beyond recognition. But what they fail to grasp is that their panic is not evidence, it is only panic. And panic never survives contact with facts. I stand against the wall, arms crossed, watching them drown in the storm of their own creation, each one frantically trying to stay afloat as their storyline disintegrates grain by grain. Meanwhile, Trump closes his eyes for a moment, breathes deeply, and says calmly, "We respond when the time is right." A sentence so simple, yet so devastating to the people who want him rattled. Washington may be losing its mind, but Trump is preparing, and the press has no idea what is coming their way. I step back into the main briefing chamber just as the last threads of the press narrative begin snapping one by one. The lights overhead hum like they're struggling to stay alive, casting a jittering glow over faces that now look drained, doubtful, and visibly defeated. A senior correspondent, once smug, now trembling, tries to reconstruct the chain of command on a whiteboard, only to erase it repeatedly because none of the dates align. A producer argues with an anchor about whether the Inspector General's findings support or contradict their previous coverage. The room goes silent. Everyone freezes. A reporter stares at her teleprompter, realizing live on air that her script contradicts the official Pentagon briefing released minutes earlier. The embarrassment is electric. Someone drops a clipboard. Another slams a laptop shut. They are not reporting anymore. They are scrambling to survive the collapse of a storyline they inflated beyond recognition. The digital world is shredding them. They broke their own narrative. How do you fumble this hard? This is what peak incompetence looks like. The comments flash like strobe lights across screens, mocking every misstep. Meanwhile, across the country, Trump moves quietly through a small studio prepared just for him, a controlled environment, warm lighting, 2 American flags behind him, catching the soft glow of overhead lamps. A single camera waits, humming lightly as if aware of the moment it is about to capture. Trump stands in the center of the room, shoulders squared, calm and unshaken, reviewing a few handwritten notes. No chaos, no frenzy, just intention. The team around him speaks in low tones, careful not to disturb the atmosphere of control. When the tech operator signals readiness, Trump nods, and the room settles into absolute stillness. This is the moment his critics fear, the moment when he stops watching and starts acting. Back in the press room, panic is peaking. Reports emerge that Hegseth never directly ordered the second strike, that Admiral Bradley acted within his authority, and that operations were conducted under established engagement protocols. Journalists gasp, whisper, shake their heads. They know what this means. Their dramatic narrative is evaporating in their hands. A legal analyst on live TV admits the situation is not as straightforward as initially portrayed, which is code for "we were wrong but won't say it." Social media erupts instantly. Oh, now they're confused? Too late. Pack it up. You lost. Their unraveling is complete. The arrogance that fueled the frenzy has dissipated, leaving only red faces and half-finished sentences. Meanwhile, aides rush in circles, trying to rewrite breaking alerts before viewers notice inconsistencies. They can sense Trump is about to speak, and they fear it. Meanwhile, in Trump's studio, the countdown begins. 10, 9, 8. The lights warm, wrapping him in a golden glow. His posture straightens, his eyes sharpen, the camera lens gleams. When the final second hits, Trump looks straight into the camera with the composure of a man who has weathered every manufactured storm Washington ever threw at him. His voice enters the air like a steady current. The United States is operating under the principles of responsibility, clarity, and respect for the rule of law. We owe it to our service members and to the American people to act with discipline, not hysteria. His words slice through the noise that has infected the media cycle for days. He continues, mistakes in judgment are made by those who leap before they look. We do not leap. We assess and we act. In the press room, screens freeze, reporters stop mid-sentence, producers stare, blinking. Trump then shifts into the sharp, witty strike that punctures his opponent's balloon entirely. Some people, he says, his tone edged with dry humor, claim they know everything about this operation, and yet they can't agree on a single detail. Maybe they should investigate their own reporting before investigating ours. A brutal hit, staff off camera fight the urge to laugh. Someone snorts, another covers her mouth. It is a clean, rhetorical knockout. The internet detonates in real time. Hashtags explode upward. Clips of Trump's line rip across platforms within seconds. Comments pour in. He ended them. That's leadership. Press room just got vaporized. Meanwhile, the reporters who spent days building accusations now sit frozen, blinking at screens that reflect their own defeat. Their confidence is gone. Their narrative is gone. Their strategy is gone. What remains is the quiet realization that Trump's calm dismantled what their chaos created. Trump closes with a dignified message, the kind that restores order after Washington has spent days drowning in noise. The American people deserve truth. They deserve duty. They deserve leaders who act with responsibility and respect for every life involved in our missions. That is our commitment. That is my commitment. He holds the gaze for a beat, letting the gravity settle. Like, comment, subscribe, and join our community for more stories that reveal the truth.